This is the region of Emilia. This is the heart of northern Italy. A lush land, fruitful, prosperous, serene. They call it Red Emilia, for it is the most communistic as well as the richest province in Italy. Yet politics cannot affect the peace and beauty of this landscape, or the blossoming fruit tree, symbol of the Emilian spring. 1,000 years of history speak from lofty towers, from this tower of the Abbey of Pomposa. The past is glimpsed in the quiet waters of this castle moat at Ferrara. And in this courtyard of Bologna, seat of the oldest university in Italy. And in stately churches, built and consecrated before the discovery of America. But some monuments of Emilia's past have not been so fortunate. Their town, smashed by dive bombing and artillery barrages, little was left to the people of Pianoro Vecchia but memories. But here, in the course of time, another town has risen, the new Pianoro. ECA provided the funds, the people themselves, the labor. And this time they rebuilt their town clean and shining so that there was a house for every family, a yard for the children to play in, a garden where a man could grow a few vegetables, a village green where you could turn out your geese to graze. The most urgent job in Emilia after the war was to tie together the broken strands of the transport system. 90% of the railroads had been destroyed or damaged. Now, 5 years later, 3 years after ECA came to Italy, this peasant can look up from the ground where he is hoeing and check his watch by the express bound for Bologna, the hub of the Italian railroad network. Bologna, city of towers, palaces, and wide piazzas, where the citizens stroll in the cool of a summer's evening. The bronze fountain of Neptune has watched them come and go for nearly 4 centuries. During the day, in the offices, shops, and ancient chamber of commerce, the business of the city is transacted in surroundings which are a reminder of Renaissance splendor. But a new age has brought new problems. And the man who can tell us most about them is the president of the Chamber of Commerce, Professor Merlini.
Emilia-Romagna, alla fine della guerra, l'economia sembrava in condizioni tali da far disperare di ogni possibilità di ripresa. Eppure oggi quasi tutto è rifatto.
Yes, at the end of the war, we in Emilia saw our economic life so badly disrupted, there seemed little hope of restoring it. And yet today, nearly everything is back to normal. Our agriculture has been reorganized, partly by the efforts of our farmers, partly with the help of the government and ECA. New land reclamation schemes, particularly in the Po Delta, have been undertaken with striking success. Then we must remember the geographical position of Emilia, which makes it the crossroads between northern and southern Italy. And through those crossroads, that is, through our cities, flows much of the nation's traffic. And if we remember this factor, it is easy to judge the importance of Emilia in the national economy. So what has been accomplished in this economically vital province by the people of Emilia, helped by generous American aid, shows how vigorously the problems of Reconstruction have been tackled and how successfully they have been overcome. Our efforts have borne good fruit. We look forward to a future of peace and prosperity here in our beautiful land.
In un futuro assai vicino, benessere e pace in questa nostra bella regione.
Bologna is the gateway to central and southern Italy. More than 300 trains pass through its station every day. Some of those trains are hauled by American locomotives left behind by the U.S. Army or imported by ECA. Certainly, passengers can travel in comfort again, in a compartment instead of a cattle car. For conditions are back to normal. The scenes now are the everyday scenes of a busy railroad station anywhere in Italy. For the rest, the track is good. The maintenance gangs are on the job. The railroad bridges across the Po River have been restored. Or you can travel just as comfortably by road. Since the war, the Italians have organized their bus and trucking services, and Italian factories, many of them with American help, have produced enough transport vehicles to supply the home market and a small export market. Naturally, the smaller the motor that pushes you along in a country where gasoline costs about 80 cents a gallon, the better. Everybody likes to ride something in a flat country, and today they stream along like people going to a fair. That's where they are going, to the market at Modena. You can see from this how many have already arrived. If you go to market in Italy, you'll need something more than a wad of bills. You'll need a strong voice and a hearty handshake. An all-in wrestling bout? No. It's just an argument about the price of a cow. And that's one way of settling it. Well, somebody has gotten himself a cow. What is all this about? Same thing, buyer and seller can't agree. Hence the fellow in the middle, who's refereeing the contest. He's going to make them shake hands even if it means dislocating somebody's arm. These farm animals, horses, pigs, mules, yes, and many of the agricultural machines represent a long, intensive program by ECA. Millions of dollars invested in increasing the production of the soil and raising the level of the livestock throughout Italy. $2,500 high-quality cattle have been imported under ECA's agricultural program. Market day is over. It's time to count your gains or losses, maybe take an aperitivo in the shadow of the ancient cathedral. Emilia has many small specialized industries. This factory, for instance, is making gears. It was leveled to the ground during the war and completely rebuilt and re-equipped with American aid. Magnificent machine tools were the first of their kind imported into Europe. To learn how to operate them and to train others in their use, the foreman was sent under an ECA training scheme to take a course in the workshops of Detroit. Well, let's ask him what he thinks of his American machine.
Purtroppo, alla fine della guerra, lo stabilimento era completamente distrutto. Solo attraverso la nostra buona volontà si è riusciti a fare la completa
We too saw the effects of the war. We saw our factory completely destroyed. Still, by effort and goodwill, it was rebuilt, so that with these American machines imported by ECA, we were able to go into production again. These machines have revolutionized the old method. The process, which took 5 minutes before, now takes 30 seconds. With other machines of this type, the time can be reduced from 18 minutes to 1 minute. Because of this, our factory, as well as many other plants, some large, others small, have been able to step up production and increase their efficiency to a point much higher than it was before the war.
Completare la loro efficienza, migliorarla e portarla ad un elevato grado di produzione.
Gears for cars, trucks, buses, bicycles, and tractors. This factory, several hundred tractors a month are sent to replace the traditional white oxen which plow the long Emilian fields or to markets overseas. On the seacoast of the province, south of the River Po's wide estuary, little villages like Porto Corsini stand isolated on the swampy Adriatic shore. As beautiful as a Dutch painting with white lighthouse, sails drying in the sun, the catch of eels, shrimps, soles. Yes, but this region of Emilia is a poor land, marshy and desolate. Nothing grows here but swamp grass. The fishermen push their craft out over mud flats covered with a few inches of water, or manhandle them through a sea of mud. Wasteland is to be reclaimed. The work has already begun. They toss the mud a spadeful at a time from man to man, a long line of men. The immediate problem is to find these men work. Some of the towns in this swamp region have managed to survive and even support a large population like Comacchio, whose only industry is fishing. It is to these shallow waters that the eels migrate, from November to January, breeding in the estuaries of the rivers and following the canals inland in search of sweet waters. During the winter months, everybody in Comacchio is busy, the old men and women, even the children. But for the rest of the year, there is little to do in this coast town except to repair the fishing nets, refit the boats, and wait for another season. The task of reclaiming this land has been undertaken on a larger scale than ever before. It is hoped to drain off over 60,000 acres and to put this new land under immediate cultivation. Canals to draw off the stagnant water have already been built. Fresh water for washing the reclaimed soil will be pumped from the River Po in giant pipes. It is a constant battle against the old enemy mud. Canals, irrigation ditches, water pipes must be constantly drained and cleaned out by squads of workers. Hundreds of men are employed, given a shovel, a wheelbarrow, a mallet to pound in stone. It is a deliberate policy of giving work until the land is ready to absorb the worthless. Women, too, take part in the project and help prepare the reclaimed land, now washed and plowed and ready for the first sowing. And there it is, the new earth, covered until a few years ago by several inches of water. Now a recognizable field, and every square foot of it precious to these landless people, too precious to let even a single weed grow there. Water control stations like this one, which bears the shield of ERP, are the oases in what at first resembles a new desert. At these pumping stations, the sluices are opened and the water drawn from the rivers is pumped into the irrigation canals. Gradually, this whole zone begins to look like the rich farmland of central Emilia, which in olden times was also a marsh. Farms mean that new settlements must be built to house the workers. The settlements are managed by a regional director, like this man at the window of his office. Buongiorno direttore, come va il lavoro?
Prego, ecco vedi, oggi abbiamo gruppi di operai che scoprono l'aia, i carri che si preparano ad andare in campagna e i trattori che vanno per la semina del Gran Turco. Di lavoro te ne è abbastanza.
Well, here you see the typical world of our farm. The ox-drawn carts leaving for the farms the tractors which will plow and harrow our land. So we're not complaining, we've got work to do. But we'd like more, for the problem in this region is unemployment. But we hope the land reclamation schemes will help solve that problem, especially as the reclaimed land is rich and highly productive. The labor of thousands of men, of women hoeing the land in a long line under summer suns, has redeemed and fructified this once abandoned region. Symbolic, then, is the planting of the first vines, like the olive trees so essentially Italian, deep into the sandy earth. Symbolic of the first crops, the first flowering fields, the first wheat. Thousands of new acres, the prospect of richer harvests, the promise of work and food and security. This field of grain extending to the rim of the sky, shining, waving, almost singing, growing where 5 years before nothing grew, is a proof that American aid to Italy has borne good fruit.